One crisp autumn night, deep in the heart of the Whispering Pines forest, a gentle bear cub named Barry lay snuggled in his cozy den, surrounded by a pile of soft leaves. The moon hung like a glowing lantern in the star-studded sky, casting its silver light across the trees. All was calm, all was quiet. That is until... Woo! Barry's ears twitched. He bolted upright, his big brown eyes shining with alarm. There it was again, a strange, eerie sound that echoed through the forest. Woo! Barry pulled his blanket of leaves tighter around him. It wasn't an owl hoot or the rustle of wind through the treetops. No, this sound was different, ghostly almost, spooky. What is that? He muttered as his heart thudded in his chest. He sat frozen for a moment, debating what to do. Should he stay safe and warm in his den and pretend he didn't hear it? Or should he investigate? Barry gulped. Well, he said, puffing out his tiny chest for courage, I'm no scaredy bear. If something's out there making creepy sounds, I'm going to find out what it is. Cautiously, Barry wiggled out of his den, his soft paws crunching against the colorful leaves on the ground. The sound was louder now, carried on the cool evening breeze. Ooh! Barry glanced around. The forest, usually so friendly and familiar, seemed a little different under the moonlight. Shadows danced on the ground, and every rustle of the leaves made his fur stand on end. But he pressed on, determined to uncover the mystery. As Barry padded through the woods, he reached the base of an old oak tree, where a bushy-tailed squirrel was nervously darting back and forth. Barry? Minnie's tiny voice squeaked with relief. Oh, good! I thought I was the only one who heard it. You mean the woo? Barry asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Minnie nodded, clutching a little acorn. It's so spooky! I was gathering midnight snacks when I heard it, and I was too scared to go home. What if it's a ghost? Barry shook his head, though he wasn't completely sure. I don't think it's a ghost, Minnie. I was just heading toward the sound to see what it is. Do you want to come with me? Minnie hesitated for a moment, her bushy tail twitching nervously, but then she nodded. Well, okay, but only if we stick together. The two friends crept further into the forest, following the strange, ghostly sound. Minnie climbed onto Barry's back, scanning the treetops nervously as they went. The woo-oo seemed to be getting louder and louder. They were just passing a cluster of tall pines when a voice called out above them. Who goes there? Barry and Minnie froze. Eep! Squeaked Minnie, nearly dropping her acorn. A round feathered figure swooped down and landed on a low branch. It was Harry the owl. His wide golden eyes glowed in the moonlight. Oh, Harry, it's just you, Barry exclaimed, relieved. You scared us. I scared you? Harry hooted indignantly. You're the one stomping through the forest in the middle of the night, making me think something's about to eat me. We're sorry, Minnie said, peeking out from behind Barry. But have you heard it? Harry tilted his feathery head. Heard what? Woo, Minnie imitated, her voice quivering. Oh, you mean that creepy wailing noise? Harry said, ruffling his feathers. Of course I've heard it. I was just about to fly the other way. It's probably some horrible monster. Or a ghost, Minnie added, her tail curling around Barry's arm. Barry took a deep breath. No, I don't think it's a monster or a ghost. I think it's something making the sound, but we won't know what until we look. Harry, do you want to come with us? Harry stared at them for a long moment, tapping his talons on the branch. On one wing, I'd rather keep my beak out of trouble. On the other wing, I am pretty curious. All right, I'll come along, but no funny business. With Harry watching from above and Minnie gripping Barry's shoulder nervously, the trio continued deeper into the forest. The sound grew louder and eerier, winding its way through the trees like a ghostly melody. Woo! The wind whispered through the branches, and the moon slipped behind a cloud, plunging the forest into shadow. Barry's paws felt heavier with every step, but he refused to turn back. Maybe we should run home, Minnie whispered, curling her tail around herself. No, Barry said firmly, though his voice wavered just a tiny bit. We'll never know what it is if we don't see for ourselves. Once we understand it, it won't be so scary. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only a few minutes, they came to a small clearing. And there it was, the source of the sound. A big old log lay on the ground, hollow all the way through. The wind, strong and steady now, was blowing across one end of it like a flute, making the eerie woo noise that had frightened them all so much. Barry blinked. Minnie's jaw dropped. Harry tilted his head so far he almost did a backflip. The log? Minnie finally squeaked. It was just the wind blowing through the log? Harry let out a loud hoot of disbelief. All that fuss for a silly log? I can't believe it scared me. Barry chuckled, his fear melting away. See, it wasn't a ghost or a monster. It was just something we didn't understand. When we face what we're afraid of, it's not so scary anymore. Minnie hopped off Barry's back and gave the log a cautious poke with her foot. Well, now I feel silly, she admitted, her cheeks puffing a little. No need to feel silly, Barry said kindly. We were all scared at first. Harry flapped his wings and landed on top of the log. Well, I wasn't that scared, he said with a little smirk. But still, it's a good reminder. Next time I hear something spooky, I'll try to figure it out before I fly off in a panic. Minnie giggled, and even Harry couldn't help but laugh at himself. With the mystery solved, the three friends began the walk back home, chatting and laughing under the silvery light of the moon. The night felt warm and safe now, familiar and friendly, just like it always had been. Before they parted ways, Barry turned to his friends. Thanks for coming with me tonight, he said. It's always easier to face something scary when you have friends by your side. Any time, Barry, Minnie said with a smile as she scampered off into her tree. See you tomorrow, fearless bear, Harry added with a wink before taking off into the night sky. As Barry crawled back into his cozy den, he felt proud of himself. The strange sound that had seemed so frightening wasn't scary at all once he took the time to investigate. He snuggled into his bed of leaves, feeling warm and brave. From that day on, Barry remembered that sometimes the things we're afraid of are just the things we haven't figured out yet. And with a little bit of courage, and maybe a few friends, nothing's too scary after all.